Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? My name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach, and welcome to Complex PTSD TV Live. And if you're here for the recording, welcome. Press hashtag replay. Let me know that you've seen the recording. And if you have any questions, always feel welcome to ask. Remember to hit like and subscribe, because as we do, we actually, as a community, begin to reach out to those who don't have the information yet. So that's a blessing in disguise. Now, for this morning, I wanted to give us some information to share with you my experiences as well about reducing anxiety triggers. And with complex PTSD, it's a bit different to reducing anxiety triggers than if you don't have complex PTSD. So this morning, I want to give you some information that you can take away that's practical, so you can put it into your day-to-day life, and it is effective. So one of the major things for us with complex PTSD to know and to absorb the information is to understand that a lot of it can be driven unconsciously by triggers that sit in the amygdala part of our brain, up in here. And because it's an unconscious trigger, we have to build an incredible conscious awareness of what's happening for us internally. So it can be easy to be watching the media at the moment and say, oh, that's triggered me emotionally. But what we need to do with complex PTSD is build this internal awareness of what's the trigger from an unconscious place, and is it driving my, not just my emotions, but is it driving my behaviour? And it's a whole different chat show if that's happening. And when I say a whole different chat show, that's actually like in Australia, so we saying, well, we're going to go off and talk about it from a different dimension now. So what I want you to be aware of now is, if your triggers are just emotional, so they're filling your body and they're making you feel anxious, then there's a different type of work to do. Then if your triggers are even more powerful, driven from the unconscious, and they're driving behavioral changes in you, then we need to be talking about it from a different perspective again. All right, so that's really your first port of call when it comes to anxiety, is to recognize, is it my emotions that are driving everything at the moment, or is it my unconscious responses that are driving behaviors that are not in my norm or are not reflective of who I am and what I've built into my life. And so it's, two sides of a different coin, which we need to address differently. But for both of those sides, what we can do is sit down and grab a breathing app. Now, there's actually an app called Breathing App. It's free. And sit there and build a conscious awareness of your breathing into the now. Because you'll find with anxiety, what it does, it has us tripping off on a not very pleasant trip, mind you, tripping off into all sorts of ideas, into different sorts of behaviour, none of which are healthy or productive for us at this time. So what we want to do is begin to dial it all back by bringing our conscious awareness to our breathing first of all. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the years is the closest word we have to spirit is breath. So when we're building our conscious awareness of breathing into our life, we're actually building a conscious awareness of our depth as well. All right. So how we are not just one layer, we're multiple layers. And then the most beautiful thing I heard recently as well is, if we look at our internal self as many different parts, and our role is to get all those different parts moving together in a beautiful symphony, then we're going to make ourselves face the challenge of sitting down and breathing so that we can bring conscious awareness to the different parts and do what needs to be done to adjust, bringing them all into a beautiful symphony working together. And when I say symphony, I don't just mean like classical music. I mean, think of the music that all different parts come together, and it fills you with such joy and hope and love and understanding and so many other things. Music is so reflective of our emotions, our internal journey. And so we want to build that awareness with our breathing into what are the different parts that are happening for me now. So go back to our initial two questions. So if I'm sitting here following the breathing app and I'm building an awareness of what parts of my body I'm holding tight, then I can also begin to ask the question, what's overwhelming? What part needs my attention the most right now? So is it my physical, my mental, my emotional, my spiritual, my sexual, my financial, my relationships? Which part of my life right here, right now, do I need to pay attention to? Now with complex PTSD, when we ask this question, it can be internally scary to touch that point at first, but we're really good at being determined. All right, we made it through a childhood where there was a lack of love, a lack of healthy experiences, a lack of healthy examples. Well, we did it. We're here, and we do have the ability to build ourselves into a beautiful life. So when we feel that point where we think, can I touch that? We go, yeah, I can, because I'm an adult now, so it's safe for me to touch those points as I'm breathing. And you know what? Quite often, whether it brings tears, whether it brings joy, because both bring an increased internal awareness, it brings us a sense of fulfillment that I'm going in the right direction. All right? So that's just the first thing that in this time, these days and times, we can build an increased awareness around to help relieve our anxiety. Another thing that we can do is consciously choose to dial back media exposure. I've done this for a lot of years because it doesn't keep me on track of where I need to go for me in my day-to-day life. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk will tell us all beautifully how reality is the hardest thing we face. Now, it's not the reality out there that's the hardest thing for us to place. We live through hell on earth, okay? The hardest thing for us to face in reality is what's happening for us internally. And it's as we're willing to touch the one next spot that it becomes easier for us to go and touch the one next spot. I don't want you to feel that it's never ending. It's not that it's never ending, it's that each point that we touch grows our character. It builds more meaning into our life. It builds a greater understanding and compassion for ourselves and for other people. So I want you to build that awareness that it's okay for me to touch spots that have felt unsafe from my past, because as I do, I'm building my life. I'm getting a choice in how I build my life. All right? So dial back the media exposure, because by now you know what you need to know. You have made a choice about what you want to do individually. And as I posted yesterday in Australia, me saying that I'm socially distancing is actually not the most socially acceptable thing to do down under, because we bred tough down here. But it's socially, for me, it's socially responsible to care more about other people than about what other people think of me or what I'm doing or the choices I make, okay? Not everybody's at that stage, and that's okay too. We all have to reach a stage and a place where we're going to feel comfortable holding space for each other in our differences, right? And that's a really beautiful place, that we can hold space when we're different, okay? Because we're all at different steps along our recovery journey. So there's a great compassion and understanding for each other that we're just taking the one next step. And whatever you do, if you choose social distancing or social isolation, which, isolation for us when we've been really wounded as adults can feel good, we want to begin to reach out. And even if you do it in our Facebook group, which is the safest environment on Facebook, and begin to use your voice, then we want to speak up. Okay, we want to be able to flex our voice so that we can begin to see what does suit us as an adult and what doesn't fit for our vision of where we want to go as a person and where we want to go in our family, in our society, in our communities. Okay, for me, my first community was online over 11 years ago, nearly 12 years ago, when I couldn't talk, and that community was vital for me. It was vital that I could help other people even when I couldn't do anything for me. And that gives us a very real sense of community, and that there is purpose for us being here. There's a meaning. So I encourage you to face some of the greatest fears that we can have in our heart and start reaching out and using our voice. Even though it can scare the living daylights out of us, it's a good thing to do. Another healthy thing for the anxiety is to distract ourselves. I'm not going to lie, I personally find it hard to distract myself because I'm on the spectrum with Asperger's. I get tunnel vision and I'm go, 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 go. But it's something that I try to remember. If you know how to distract yourself, feel free to share information because it's something that I'm not good at. I try to remember, but when I get hyper-focused, it's very, very hard for me to distract. And that's okay. We're not going to get each of these. It's not even about getting them right or wrong. It's finding the parts that actually help us soothe our anxiety. That's important. I want you to listen to your self-talk, all right? Is your self-talk going down unhealthy, unproductive roads like, this is the end of the world? If I hear one more person carry on like that, I just want to sit here and go, it's not the end of the world, okay? I can promise you that. I've got at least another 50 years to hang around and do the work I'm doing. We're right, okay? So we don't want to catastrophize because that impacts our complex PTSD and makes it blow up even bigger, all right? We want to dial it down and we want to give our self-talk into a really soothing place of, no matter what happens externally for me, I'm doing everything internally and in my environment to feel safe, to feel loved. I'm reaching out into my community the best I can to let them know they are safe and they are loved and they can make these important decisions for their life. All right? Reassure ourselves. It's a really good thing to do. And also reassuring ourselves is really good to combat the inner critic. Okay? So put it on your to-do list of combating the inner critic is I can reassure myself that I'm making good decisions that are right for me, okay? Now we want to return to routine and structure as best that we can, and especially if we've got kids, it will help them self-soothe as well. So get back into whatever your routine and structure is. Your brain will thank you, okay? Our brain is very much soothed by routine and structure. So make that happen as much as you can. Now, in today's world, there are lots and lots of online chats, capabilities for mental health, all right? So whatever part of the world that you're in, Google online chat or mental health online chat, and you'll find somebody in your country that has that service available to you, I hope. I'm talking mainly about the Western world, obviously, because that's where I've dealt most with. But if you're in a country that doesn't have an online chat, Google, like America online chat for mental health or Australia online chat for mental health. Because it's online, it doesn't matter where you come from. You'll be able to talk to a mental health professional to help you move through this time, all right? Remember to self-soothe. For those of you who have a bath, grab some Radox. If you're in Australia, grab some Epsom salts and some nice smelly stuff, lavender oil, if you're in the States, and have a nice bath to help soothe your whole body, or a massage. If you can handle a massage, that's really good too, to help get rid of all the stress. Very self-soothing to have touch, all right? And if you can't do either of those, you can sit there with your hand on your heart, your breathing app, and just fill your whole self with lots of beautiful love. You can do that. Simple things. Move your body, no matter what that looks like for you. Some people do the trauma-informed movement. Some people do trauma-informed movement to belly dancing. Some people do it to Tai Chi. Whatever it is that you need to do to move your body, if you're sitting here and you can recognize that you're frozen, get up and move your body. And go outside, smell the fresh air. Get all your senses moving, and it will help to self-soothe, and it will help your brain become re-engaged in different ways as well. And that's what we aim for. And if you can sit down and journal what's happening for you in your heart, what your feelings are, what your thoughts are, in order to see your path through that, it will really help as well. All right, so I'm going to post this. I've made up an information picture with all of this on it. So I will post it down underneath the video, and I will also post it in places that other people can see it as well, so that you know that you can put it on your phone, save it to your phone, and you go, right, with complex PTSD, this is where I go, this is what I do, and this is just my one next step to make it through this time as well. Thank you all for joining in. It's wonderful to see you again. Remember, above and beyond everything else, you are loved, you are needed here, and you belong. I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.